Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the mental health and personality factors that may be at work in the Peter Madsen murder case? Madsen was convicted in connection with the 2017 murder of journalist Kim Wall. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So first I'll look at the background, I'll move to the timeline of the crime, and then I'll provide my analysis. Peter Madsen was born in Denmark on January 12, 1971. Madsen's father, Carl, was a pub owner and over 30 years older than Madsen's mother, Annie. Annie had 3 other sons from 2 previous marriages. Apparently, Carl mistreated Madsen's brothers but left Madsen alone. Carl and Annie separated when Madsen was 6 years old, and Madsen stayed with his father. In school, Madsen was interested in rocket science, and specifically in the composition of rocket fuel, but he never actually completed his education. Carl also had an interest in rockets, and working on rockets was something that the two periodically enjoyed together until Carl died in 1990. Madsen joined a rocket club in Copenhagen, but other people in the club started to become wary of him, as he wanted to use fuels that were not safe. Madsen took an interest in submarines and studied engineering and welding to learn how to build them. Various organizations and individuals funded his efforts. He would end up building 3 submarines with the help of volunteers, the last of which was a midget submarine named Nautilus. It cost over $200,000 to build and was the largest privately built submarine in history. The submarine's maiden voyage was in May 2008. In 2011, Madsen would get married. He said that he had an open relationship. His wife left him in 2018. Madsen became involved with a space travel project, which had some successes, but Madsen and his partner had various conflicts. So Madsen started another project in 2014. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. A 30-year-old freelance journalist named Kim Wall was interested in the rivalry between Madsen and his business partner, the one with the company building the rockets. She tried to interview Madsen, but had difficulty getting a hold of him. On August 10, 2017, Madsen sent her a text. He invited her to his workshop for tea. During this meeting, Madsen offered to take Wall on his submarine that evening. She agreed. Wall would meet Madsen around 7 p.m. at the Nautilus. She took several photographs during the beginning of their journey. Several hours passed, but Wall did not return. Her partner became worried and called the police at 1:45 a.m. on August 11. A local maritime rescue center notified the police of a possible accident that occurred just before 4 a.m. At 11 a.m., a man who was assisting with the search spotted Madsen on the Nautilus. Shortly after this, the submarine began to sink. Madsen swam to a nearby boat. They pulled him out of the water and headed back to shore. When they arrived, Madsen said that a defect in the ballast tank caused the submarine to sink, which made him sad. I thought that was interesting that he added his emotional state there. Madsen admitted that Wall had been with him, but said he dropped her off before the submarine sank. He was arrested for involuntary manslaughter. The police said that he killed Kim Wall at an unknown place in an unknown way. I guess the good news for the police is the report was easy to fill out. The next day, at a court appearance, Madsen said that Wall actually died in an accident on the submarine. She was struck by the hatch and killed when Madsen lost his grip on the hatch. Madsen panicked, and instead of calling the authorities, he dragged her body out using a rope and buried her at sea. A torso was discovered on an island not far from where the submarine sank on August 21. It was positively identified as Wall using DNA analysis. It had been stabbed several times and weighted down with a piece of metal. About a month later, divers would find her head, legs, clothing, and a knife in plastic bags and weighted down. Not long after this, they found her arms as well. Despite the new evidence, Madsen said that all he did was get rid of the body. He did not kill or dismember her. Divers then found a saw that may have been used to dismember the body. They searched Madsen's computer and found videos that featured violence like decapitation, torture, and strangulation perpetrated against women. It was reported on October 30 that Madsen changed his story again, saying that Wall was inside the submarine during a time when exhaust gases were present, perhaps implying that caused her death. He also mentioned that he dismembered the body, saying he needed to do that in order to get it out of the submarine. This seems like an odd strategy for maneuvering a body in a tight situation. I would hate to think of Madsen playing a game like Twister, although I guess he would always win. The police were also able to determine the submarine was intentionally sunk. On January 16, 2018, Madsen was indicted on multiple charges, including murder. On April 25, 2018, he was found guilty of all charges and given a life sentence. This sentence in Denmark is 16 years, unless the individual is considered too dangerous to release. Madsen married a 39-year-old woman in 2020. She said she was lucky to be with the most beautiful, smart, talented, devoted, and empathic person and man ever. In October of 2020, Madsen escaped from prison only to be recaptured shortly afterward. He had built a fake gun and explosive vest and taken a female mental health professional hostage. Essentially, he went to the gate and the guards released him. The weapons looked realistic, and they said they did not want to risk anybody's life. It's like they forgot that people were outside the prison as well. Somehow it made sense to them to let Madsen progress from an area they controlled to an area they didn't. This is like pointing a gun at someone and pulling the trigger and saying, "Don't worry, we'll catch up with the bullet before it gets to them." Later, the Minister for Justice said the escape was very serious and noted that prisoners serving a life sentence shouldn't be able to escape. I think this is a good policy to put in place. I'm a little surprised they didn't think of that a bit earlier, like perhaps when they were building the prison. They should rethink some of their other policies as well. For example, they may want to reconsider the firearm and bomb building classes. Now moving to the mental health and personality factors. At Madsen's trial, mental health professionals described him as psychopathic and narcissistic, saying he was a pathological liar, he was extremely untrustworthy, and had a severe lack of empathy. They said he was not psychotic, so no hallucinations or delusions. Here is a potential personality profile for Peter Madsen. He was high in openness to experience. Building a submarine counts as creative, and it is indicative of intellectual curiosity. We see above average conscientiousness, although he didn't demonstrate this during the homicide. His extroversion level was high. He was outgoing, sensation-seeking, and easily bored. Friends described him as charismatic. He seems to be low in agreeableness. He was argumentative, competitive. People described him as a rebel. Interestingly, some people believe that he was altruistic, which of course is consistent with somebody being high in agreeableness. The last trait is neuroticism. Here we see a high level. He had difficulty resisting temptation, and he had mood swings where he would go from being angry and aggressive to euphoric. He would have temper tantrums featuring throwing various tools at people. Madsen was described as psychopathic, as I mentioned. Let's look at a few of his characteristics that seem to align with psychopathy. He had a lack of empathy. When he was asked by mental health professionals about his decision to dismember Kim Wall, he said, "What do you do when you have a big problem? You divide it into something smaller." He went on to say that a dead body does not deserve special respect. Additionally, he believed that Wall's family would not experience any more pain by receiving Wall's body in many separate pieces. Madsen had a particular fascination with the killer cyborgs from the Terminator movies. Terminators may be good for traveling back in time and attacking future rebellion leaders, but they're not known for their reflective listening skills. The next trait Madsen demonstrated was pathological lying. In addition to changing his story several times, his lies became increasingly unbelievable. He could not see how others perceived him, and therefore didn't realize how ridiculous his lies were. At one point, he said the reason he lied was to protect the parents of Kim Wall, although, of course, the story he gave about how she died was not true. Madsen was manipulative. A female prison guard initiated a romance with Madsen. She said that we had good conversations, and it was difficult to say stop. She also fantasized about moving in with him. I'm not sure where she was talking about. Did she mean she wanted to move into his prison cell with him, I would think that would get a little cramped. Madsen had the ability to appear charming to many people. I think what happened in this case is that Madsen's specific fetishes combined with his psychopathy and narcissism. He spent quite a bit of energy in the pursuit of women, and he had developed a number of violent fantasies of a sexual nature. He had taken many women out on his submarine on prior occasions. When he had the opportunity to take Wall out, he decided this was going to be the time where he tried to make his fantasy a reality. Before she came aboard, he loaded several items into the submarine, like sharpened screwdrivers, pipes, straps, a saw, and a video camera. He also searched the internet for the words beheading, girl, and agony. People who saw Madsen before the murder reported sensing a strange energy from him. So he was probably investing in the fantasy heavily in that moment, and maybe a bit euphoric. Outside of the actual nature of the crime, which was unusual, it seems odd that Madsen targeted somebody who others knew would be with him. The attack was clearly planned, but he did not think about what would happen after the attack, illustrating the state of mind that occurs when somebody gives in to fantasy. Those are my thoughts on the Peter Madsen case. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis on this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.